All right, what's up, Foundation Nation? Today we're back with another disc review. Today we're doing the Discraft Zeus. This is obviously one of the PM molds. This is one of the more popular flagship distance drivers in the Discraft lineup, but relatively new to the company, you know, just since Paul joined. This is a disc that both Hunter and I are relatively familiar with, Hunter more so than I. We've got two of them here today. This one is brand new, an ESP plastic, probably the most popular one thrown. And then we have this big Z one that's been beat in a little bit in Hunter's bag. Should have a little more flip to it. It's a frigid morning here in Virginia. It's about 28 degrees, but there is no wind, so you should get a pretty true flight out of it as long as we can get our arms to work. So we're just gonna start, give each one a toss and see what it does. Yeah, as you can see, Zeuses have a pretty sweet flight. They're not super overstable to start with. As you can see, that one probably came out of my hand flat to maybe a little bit of turn. Kind of holds a little bit of an S and then came back at the end. So it does have some reliability at the end of the flight, but they do go very far right out of the box. They just have a lot of glide and speed, so it's a pretty sweet disc. Let's see what this beat-in one does. This one should have a little more flip to it. I'll probably give it a little bit of hyzer, see if I can get a similar flight. Yeah, so I was able to get pretty much the same flight, but I threw that one on a hyzer, so you can see how a beat-in one, you kind of just have to adjust the angle if you want to get that same line. But as you can see, both of them have really, really sweet flights. This is a great disc for somebody who has like average to slightly above average arm speed and is looking for something to push a little further than like if you were in the Discraft lineup, for example, a Force, you know, that would be a little more overstable. This has a little more give to it. It's gonna help you get more hyzer flip distance. And they just go very far, they boom.
All right, so we're gonna check the Zeus out here on some hyzer. Throw the new one first. I'm gonna give it a decent bit of hyzer, nothing too crazy. I'll give it a chance to flip, but I'm expecting this new one just to pretty much hold true. Threw a light colored disc into a gray sky, so you might not have saw it, might not have seen it. My bad, threw it a little high, but it got a little flip out of it. I'll show you with this disc kind of what it did. It got like a little bit of fight, but not flip. So it's one of my favorite shots. That's why I love a hyzer so much, is you can control it so much. The Zeus tends to do this out of the box a lot of times, where you can throw it on hyzer and it'll give you those long pushing hyzers because it fights it and starts to stand up while still moving left and then comes out. What I'm expecting this one to do is you should see it flip almost up all the way. It's been in my bag for a few weeks, so it's not crazy beat in. This is just a few weeks of seasoning. I have one at home that has like a year of seasoning, but my idiot self didn't bring it today. But we'll see what this one does. That was way more hyzer. So much more hyzer. Okay, but it was probably twice the amount of hyzer and accomplished the same flight as the ESP one. Hopefully you saw that one at least to see kind of what I'm talking about. The Zeus is like, has enough true stability to not come out of the hyzer, but has enough high speed understability that it'll start to stand up and get you those long pushing hyzers where, you know, if with a Force or a new destroyer that's like very overstable, you might be throwing 300, 320 foot hyzers. That Zeus will help you get to that 350 foot hyzer mark on the same angle because it'll just hold that angle and flip up, and while it's fighting it, it's giving you that more glide and pushing you farther down the fairway.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw these discs with a little bit of anhyzer now. This should kind of help you see the difference in stability a bit. This one will go over very easily. This one might have a little bit of fight to it. We'll start with the new one. Yeah, I'd still, even the new ones, a Zeus is not really, I wouldn't really say you know, you can throw big wide turnovers with it, but it's not a disc that's really gonna fight out of an ante line, because I think it's a disc built for hyzer flips, or maybe even flat to turnover shots. But if you give it ante, it's not really gonna hold up very well. You know what, and actually with the Big Z one, I'll kind of try and throw a roller line with this, because I think that a Zeus is a disc that once you beat in a little bit, it probably is pretty good for a force over roller. And if I throw it on a line like I threw that one, it'll get a pretty similar flight. So I'm gonna try and roll this one. Oh yeah, it rolls real nice. That was one of the better rollers I've ever thrown, to be honest. I almost ripped the skin off my fingers because it's very cold out. But as you can see, it kind of, if you could see it well, I don't know if you could, it kind of just stayed on edge the whole time and they didn't really roll over till the end. It probably went at least 400 feet. So beat in Zeus, good roller disc.
All right, we're gonna throw a forehand here, round out the Zeus review. For me personally, it's always been a great forehand disc. Forehands in the cold are very questionable, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, Hunter.
Yeah, a little more Annie than I intended out of the hand, but I mean, you see it full flight. That's another thing. I throw destroyers with forehand, but they're always very overstable. The Zeus has, again, that high speed understability that lets a way below average forehand like me be able to get a decent flight out of it. And so that's another thing why the Zeus is in my bag. For this Zeus right here that's in my bag is in there specifically for long distance shots, hyzer flip shots, and forehands that I need to go far. That's what I use the Zeus for. That's what it fills the slot in my bag, and I think it's perfect at that. Yeah, those were two wildly different forehand releases, but that one was a little lower, a little bit of hyzer, got a little pop up out of it, rode straight and came out. That's the flight that I always want my forehand to have. I'm always throwing a forehand for like a dead straight, gonna fade. If there's room to flex a forehand, that means there's room for me to throw a backhand in the fairway, and I'm gonna choose that every time. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. My forehand's like 300, 320 max, to give you an idea of what I'm able to get on a good forehand. So that kind of, if you're in that range, shows you how the Zeus is gonna fly, and you can just kind of make it a little more stable if you're throwing shorter, or a little less stable if you're throwing farther than that.
Just to kind of wrap up with the Zeus here, as you can see, the Zeus is a fantastic distance driver. There's a reason this is so popular, and it's not just because Paul's name's on it, it's because it does fly very well. You know, the type of person that's looking for a Zeus, I think it's once you get to where you can throw distance drivers, so once you kind of hit that point, then I think from then on to the highest skill levels, this is a useful disc. Obviously, this is a disc that Paul himself can throw. If you have higher arm speeds, this disc is gonna be pretty flippy for you if you're throwing really, really hard, like 400, 500 feet. But at that point, it's a really cool hyzer flip distance, like workability disc. If you're somebody who's throwing maybe in the 300-foot range, it's probably gonna be decently stable for you. You know, it'll be something that you can throw out flat, get a little bit of push, and then a nice fade at the end. It's a really good forehand disc, as you can see, has some forgivability there. But overall, this is just a well-rounded distance driver. It's one that I'd recommend trying out if you haven't yet. And if you are interested in the Zeus, head over to foundationdisc.com and you can check it out there, pick one up for yourself. We've got it in a few different plastic blends usually, always have them in stock. But other than that, we'll see you in the next disc review. We will see you in the next disc review.
It's cold, man.
I'm gonna freeze to death.